Okay, October 15th. Okay, here we go. So we have the starter. You have 2 minutes to complete the starter. Okay, please do your best. This is content that you should have learned throughout the first unit. Okay, so I looked at some basic must-know content related to geography of Latin America, history of Latin America, and economics and geography. There's not a culture question, but you have 2 minutes to complete that. Go ahead and do so right now. Everybody must do it. This grade is going on the second quarter. This is probably one of your first grades for the second quarter. About 90 seconds. And honestly, if you can answer those questions in 2 minutes time, it kind of tells me that you've not mastered the content. So I'll look at that data and I'll have to, figure out another way to reiterate or reteach that information. Because you should be able to do it quickly. You have 1 minute. All right, 30 seconds. And for those that have not done your quarterly yet, finish your quarterly, you need to make sure that that is getting done literally right after class is finished. All right, y'all. So here we go. Next up, we have our October 15th summary. We've now transitioned. The quarterly represented the last day of the Latin America unit. We're now moving on to Europe. Objective today is to develop conclusions based on maps of Europe. North Carolina Standard Course of Study is to use those maps to interpret and draw conclusions about social, economic, and environmental issues in modern societies and regions. Unit is now Europe, not Latin America. And then the statement of inquiry is ideology impacts interactions. So what we're looking at here, right? I'm just going to explain that a little bit different terms. Ideology is almost like ideas, beliefs that someone has or a group of people have. And when you have those ideas, those beliefs, then they're going to impact the way you interact. The way you interact with people, the way you interact with the environment, okay, kind of like the decisions that you're going to make based on your beliefs and your ideas. And we're going to look at that and use that statement of inquiry as we look into Europe for the entire unit. And how do the ideas of these different groups of people, these leaders, impact the way that people interact and the decisions that they make. Okay, synchronous time today, we did the starter, October 15th starter. If you've not finished that, you need to make sure that that is done. And then page 33, Europe Geography, we're going to start that today. And then we're going to end with the ticket out the door. Okay, we're going to start getting this rhythm again of starter, assignment, ticket out the door. And then you need to finish that assignment that we started in the middle of class for your asynchronous time. And that is exactly what you need to do today, is to complete page 33, Europe Geography. Okay, so let's transition now to, actually, here's what I want you to do. I want to talk about the extra credit extension, okay, because I think a lot of you, I think this would be beneficial, okay, very beneficial. So what I've done here for Europe, because nobody did this for Latin America, so I want to reintroduce this idea. So if you go above Europe Geography, you're going to see Europe Extension Explained. This is going to just tell you what you need to do, why I'm doing this, what your options are. So again, this extension is not in place of classwork. This is if you've worked hard, you've done everything you're supposed to do, and maybe you did some of your assignments late, or you received a low quiz score, test score, project score, and your grade is low, even though you're working hard. That's where this comes in. Then you need to spend some time extending your knowledge on a topic related to Europe, something that you are naturally interested in. This is not a replacement. You can't say, hey, I don't want to do this assignment. I'll do the extra credit extension instead. That doesn't count. That's not the way this works, okay? This is something you should do and you must do once you finish all of your work. You're done with an assignment and you have 10 minutes remaining. Use 10 minutes to research the Holocaust or the, Auschwitz, the concentration camp, okay? Use your time, extra time, to research more about King Louis XVI or Marie Antoinette or the guillotine. You decide what you want to do more work on, research on, okay? You choose a topic and you start with your researching that topic. After your research is done, you will get credit for that research. Even if you don't get to a product or a project with that research, you will still get credit, additional points. And here's the deal. I'm going to give formal points added on to this. So imagine that you got a 10 out of 20 on the quarterly, but you got a 10 additional points for your research, then that's almost like saying that your quarterly was a 20 out of 20. I mean, this is fairly significant. This can do a lot for your grade, but here's the deal. If you're not going to do your work, you don't get to do this either. Okay, you've got to do your work and make sure you're done with all of your work prior and you're caught up, and then you move on to this to extend your knowledge. Because the work I'm giving to y'all right now, that's the must-know content. That's the foundational knowledge that you need to have. I need to make sure you have. Okay, all right, so and then potential extension activities is create a one-pager, 3D model, trading cards, monologue, infographic, short video, and a historical fiction story. And I can talk in more detail about that on a needed basis for the students that finish their research. Okay, now next thing up, okay, if I go here, all right, here's some topics that you could do, and I just thought and just typed these up today. Okay, we're going to talk about the Enlightenment. So you could do one of these topics. You could go more in depth about one of these individuals and do a monologue or something else. Or you could choose something else that comes to mind. Okay, French Revolution, you could do something on the guillotine, King Louis XVI, Marie Antoinette, Maximilien Robespierre, Napoleon Bonaparte, the Reign of Terror, other things that come to mind that interest you. Industrial Revolution, factories, canals, spinning jenny, power loom, just these inventions, locomotive, assembly line, urbanization. So I just put tons of topics related to each of these. Okay, so the idea is that you start this now. Let's say you finish page 33 today early. Okay, look on here. Find something you want to focus on. I want to, look at Kristallnacht, the night of broken glass, and kind of as part of Germany's history against the Jews. So you could do that, and you could research that. Start researching it now. And by the time this is due, which is December 16th, in 2 months from tomorrow, hopefully you have at least 4 sources and some really good information on that, and you've learned a lot more about that. Okay, so keep that in mind. So if you look at page 34 in your digital notebook, you'll see the Extension Research Organizer. And I'll go there as well. All right. Again, I'm going to go to page 34. Extension Research, Europe Extension Research. So you pick the topic, you type it in there, then you go and you research and you find some sources. You type your organized notes here, okay? Just an exhaustive amount of notes, okay, in really good detail. And then your citation, just kind of like citing that source where you got it from, okay? And then move on to source 2, 3, and 4. After you've done that, you can decide what you want to make for your project. Okay. In the end, I could see this project being worth 20 formal points. Okay. It could be worth 10 for your research if you do a really great job, and 10 for your product if you do a really great job. Okay. Which that could really, I'm talking, that could take you, my goodness, from a 60 to a 80, that's massive. So keep that in mind, please, as we move forward. That's a slow, continuous thing that's going to continue throughout the quarter. All right, let's go back and look at, again, so we've done this. We did the starter, looked at the summary, and now we're on page 33. Okay, so we'll get started. I'm going to just briefly go through these maps and what they're representing, just as a reminder, and then you need to answer the questions on your own on page 33 in your digital notebook before 10 p.m. But you should get it done. It's only 4 maps this time, and it's not too difficult, but it does require some critical thinking, drawing conclusions here. So I'm going to see if I can zoom in. All right, first map, right? As a reminder, physical map. Physical maps focus on physical features, lakes, rivers, mountains, okay, just bodies of water, elevation, and you kind of see that. What I noticed is I don't like about this map is it doesn't have a key for the elevation, for the altitude, kind of the height of the land. But you know that from prior experience, the areas that are green are of lower elevation. The areas that are brown, lighter, okay, and up to brown, or maybe even almost like red, end up being a very high altitude or elevation. Okay, so that's the focus of this map. It does have the labels of the different countries on there as well, but that's not the focus. And it does have cities, but again, that is not the focus. Political map, the focus is the names of the countries and the boundaries. That's the focus of this, okay, of a political map. The political boundaries, the capital cities, the names of the countries specifically. Population density, once again, if we look at this, this represents how many people live per square mile in these regions of the world. There's some good questions on the organizer on page 33 that I'll need you to answer. One of them I'm going to tell you is which one is most densely populated. If I'm looking at that, a few of them stick out. See what you can come up with, right? See what you can come up with. For me, again, 3 of them stick out to me as being very dense in population. So just, do your best on that. And then, so again, that's the population density map. And we see the key, the legend over here, right? Anywhere that's yellow, it's like almost nobody lives there per square mile. There is not a key for the political map. We can assume that a star represents the capital city, okay, and the larger letters that are more bold represent the names of the countries. And you should be able to answer those questions based on that. Right, land use. Land use is talking about like how are these European nations using their land? What is their land being used for? So if you look at the map again, subsistence farming, if we look at the key, subsistence farming is the only farm for yourself. Okay, you're not farming for anybody else. You're farming for your family. You're not farming crops to take to the market to sell. Okay, that's just, you don't have that luxury. And then you have ranching, right, which is, some cattle and crops and livestock, maybe like farms, forest products, forestry. Nomadic herding is you don't stay in one spot, okay? And then, and you're herding, you got, have cattle or animals that you're using, and they are more spread out without like fences and gates and all of that. And then you have little or no commercial activity where the land is probably not suitable for doing things on the land. So, and then you have the dots represent manufacturing and trade. So keep that in mind. Let's look at page, I got a question, here's a good question. If you look at the political map, right, here we go. Well, let me just go through some of these questions. These are straightforward. I'm gonna make you answer those on your own. Drawing a conclusion, here's what I would want. Based on the physical map, where would you live in Europe? Based on this map. For me, I'm thinking, where do I want to live that's maybe a little bit more beautiful than other places? or have better opportunity based on the physical map. Near rivers, along the coast, something along those lines. Just keep that in mind. Or maybe you just want to be in the middle of nowhere away from everybody. It's all in your justification. All right. So those two are more straightforward. All right, here we go. Here's a good question. What two countries do you think would dispute over the peninsula sticking out into the Black Sea? What's a peninsula? Go put in the chat. What's a peninsula? What is it? Close, right? Yeah, it's water on three sides. Okay, so it wouldn't necessarily be considered an island, but it is a piece of land that is surrounded on three sides by water. Okay, so if I'm looking at this, the map, the political map, you gotta find the peninsula that's in the Black Sea, right? Find the peninsula that is in the Black Sea. You may need to zoom in a bit more, right? Black Sea. All right, I see a peninsula there. And then think about what two countries would dispute over, pick the major one, the major peninsula. What two countries would dispute over this region? And just think about that. Would fight over it, or would both claim it to be their own? Okay? All right, so keep that in mind. And again, Turkey would not be a peninsula here in the Black Sea. So if I'm looking here, right, this is the Black Sea. The peninsula would be really what I'm referring to is this here. That would be the peninsula. Now you determine, draw a conclusion, who would fight over that and why? And put that in your question. There's no right or wrong answer here. I mean, I guess there could be, right? But I'm looking at your justification and your reasoning why. All right. So that's your assignment. That's what your focus is today. It is 4 maps only. You don't have to answer them in complete sentences. The conclusions, make sure you write them well in that right column. The left column is a little bit simpler. Any questions? Y'all can put them in the chat. Okay, and then, all right, last thing, everybody stop what you're doing. Go to the ticket out the door. Go to your ticket out the door. Everybody needs to do this before you log off. Okay, again, read each question carefully and choose the best answer or answers depending on the question. I believe this is 4 questions, 1.25 points each. They're all really basic. You can go back and look at different Canvas pages to help you answer these. Okay, this should be a gimme. This should be 5 out of 5. Should be 5 out of 5 for everybody. So everybody do that now. Once you do that, you can go and make sure you get your asynchronous work done, please. Yep, once you do this, you can leave and make sure you get your asynchronous work done. I still have a few students in this class that did not finish the quarterly. You need to do that now. Okay, you need to do that right now and get that done, because here's the deal. Maybe you don't feel you're doing well or whatever. I'll tell you what, a 12, a 10, a 5 is better than a 0 out of 20. And that's what you're going to get if you don't finish it. Okay, so keep that in mind, please. You make sure you get that done right now, okay, because I need to see that, and I'm syncing grades, and then I'm going to, work with those and that need further assistance. Okay? All right, y'all go. Thank you.